Wabaman.
That's good.
Okay. I'm gonna fix my stuff here. Ready? Bushu, Anin, Minogajip. Welcome everybody to the Tribal Council meeting this morning. We had invocation done by Jean Goodsky via phone, and so I'll call the meeting to order. Roll call, please. Here.
Here. Here. Here. Here.
Okay. Approval of the agenda. Do we have some additions to the agenda?
Oh, what, Randy?
Yes, we do. We have one removal and we have 4 additions.
Okay.
The first removal is from Wendy Thompson for the revision to the tribal code.
Okay.
The first addition we have is for George Strong with KBFT,
Where do you want to put George?
probably right at the end, before Joel and I.
Okay.
We have Elena with a discussion on tribal IDs.
Okay.
We have for general discussion and whether or not the tribal council would like this in general session or executive session, to put the grant information that Bois Forte has pulled in due to COVID-19 on the Bois Forte website.
Okay. We can put it in general.
Okay. And we have, the last one is David Morrison with a discussion of the appointments to election boards.
Okay.
Oh, then also we received a email from Fond du Lac's General Election Board, and they have a COVID-19 preparedness plan for the general elections on Fond du Lac, and so I don't know if we should mimic that or
Okay.
or talk about how we're gonna.
I think we need to discuss about the COVID-19, how we're going to conduct the elections. I think a lot of tribal members are wondering about that, especially I think another issue with that might be problems getting notaries because the banks are closed. So I think it's a good discussion, Dave.
Okay.
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 Are we gonna do anything for EMS Appreciation Week?
Yes, usually we do gift cards for them, but it's not done through official action. It's just in appreciation for their service and volunteerism.
Okay.
Did you want that on the agenda, Shane?
No, it doesn't need to
Okay,
be an official
it's
action.
budgeted in the RTC special projects
Okay.
every year?
All right.
Okay. Anything else, guys? If not, I'll call for a motion to approve those one deletion and additions.
Move.
Moved by Travis, is there a second?
Yep.
Seconded by Chief, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, silent, motion carried. Approval of minutes from the May 6, 2020 meeting at Nett Lake. I'm not sure, but has the tribal code been posted publicly and put on the website? Okay, yes, it has. Okay, thank you. Any questions on the minutes? If not, I'll call for a motion to approve the minutes from May 6, 2020.
I'll move.
Moved by Travis. Is there a second? David, moved by David. Sorry, Dave. Jeez.
Second by Trav.
Seconded by Travis. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. Next, we have the consent agenda, which is, first item is approved a $1,500 donation to Chester Gruey, who lost his house due to a fire on May 6, 2020. Adopted Resolution 90-2020 Family Violence Prevention Services Grant. Approved a contract for lab services with Cook Hospital. And approved a construction agreement with Custom Masonry. Any questions or comments on the consent agenda? If not, I'll call for a motion to approve.
Yep.
Motion made by Chief. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dave. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. Okay, next we have Jaylen Strong. Good morning, Jaylen.
So I think the first discussion I had was about a project that was brought up to me probably about a month ago. But I had also emailed you, but it's in a sense, I guess it's a project with Croix to find all the traditional names for the lakes that are up towards Ely and the Boundary Waters area. I was reached out to a guy from the Ely Folk School, and they work with a guy from Croix to find those names, but they only have those names on the Canadian side of the border, and they just wanted to partner up with us to see if we could kind of find those names for the U.S. side. I also told them to reach out to Grand Portage as well, just because they might have different names for those lakes, and we don't have any of those names, or we don't have anybody that remembers those names. We could have them probably have Grand Portage fill those in. I guess I was just wondering if it would be all right to send an email out to the person from Croix in order to kind of get this project started. I don't really know how it's going to work now with the COVID stuff, because it requires visitations with elders, and I don't know if that's really possible or something that I right now, but at least this kind of gets it on the table and on the mindsets, and kind of able to kind of move forward from there.
It sounds like a great project to me. I mean, I think we need to get as much history, and even like the Supreme Court that did the change in the lake at the cities with Lake Calhoun. I think that's something we need to look at. I agree, I don't know how you'll do it with the visitations for the elders. We'll probably have to use, you'll have to use some type of creativity there with either phones or, I'm not sure how the elders, what kind of resources they have, or
Probably just have to yell through the windows.
yell through the windows, right?
Yeah, be a good project, I guess, for me to be working on whenever I'm kind of up towards like the Ely area. There, I guess there's 3 or 4 like Indian lakes. They're just named Indian Lake.
Oh.
And they're kind of in the process of like changing those, but they want to start translations from the Ojibwe.
I think that'd be really, really great to do. It's okay with Jaylen pursuing that project?
I just have a question. When our people were showing William Trigg around the waterways, did he make any, write down the streams, the rivers, the lakes that they visited in the Anishinaabe-Moen?
I'm sure you probably did. I'd have to look at the trig maps because I know right now a lot of them are just in English. So, and that's not to say that some of these lakes aren't the translated version already, but he would also just put like Indian Lake lines. So I can like double check to see if there's other names that he put in there or like previous versions maybe.
Okay, the other thing too is that, because when they had that path from Duluth up to where we are, or up where Vermilion is, they must have called that path something. And that'd be interesting to learn that.
I think from what Bill has said, he just calls it the Vermilion Trail or something
Okay.
along those lines. Yeah.
I think it's a great project. We're losing a lot of history with our elders passing, so the more we can do it and incorporate LaCroix and Portage, that'd be great. Good collaboration. Okay? Sure, go right ahead, Jay.
All right. And the second topic that I had brought up to the tribal council was just kind of talking about the THPO stuff again.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I do need to request like accept the money for the grant, right? Because it's $76,355. I had to submit that on the 30th of April,
Okay,
but we already were given the money and kind of,
mm-hmm.
or allocated money. I think I just need to get that kind of
Mm-hmm.
through the council, and then I didn't really hear back from you guys about a shared THPO with Grand Portage, so I just kind of had to do it, and the only way I could do it was kind of follow what Bill had, and so I have money in there for maybe 6 months for like a intern to come work in 8 hours a week, something like that. So I'm hoping maybe to get like a college student, I guess, that's
Okay.
kind of interested in all that, and then eventually they can kind of figure it out. And I did get a call from somebody from Arizona State University yesterday, and he said he'd be interested in doing with the shared THPOs, and he just kind of cold called me yesterday, and I told him to go out to Grand Portage and kind of figure out what's going on there, because as far as I know, they still haven't found a replacement for Marianne.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're at least looking for a THPO still. For this grant, at least, I put my salary, I put like 45% of my salary down for covered under this grant.
Mm-hmm. Jay, just an update. I know that everything's kind of been put into a basket and put aside since the pandemic has started, but this was actually discussed with Grand Portage in February at our 1854 meeting. And one of the things that we had talked about was maybe having a position through 1854 with the possibility of our funds going down there and funding a position, we thought we'd get a better job pool from the Duluth area. However, it got left there after the pandemic started, so nothing's been done on it. So basically, I don't know what your thoughts are on that or portages, but we should get going on that but I think it's a good idea to get somebody in the position. But I know that we weren't sure if the funding could be allocated or how we would use it if we did have a main position at 1854 that handled Grand Portage and Bois Forte at the same time, but the position be housed at 1854. It was kind of just discussed. Nothing was ever done. It just kind of got left at discussion. So I think whatever you decide to do with it to help you out with regards to, because it's really hard to do both jobs. So, you know, your idea of having a student come in is a good idea. We need to expend the funds. I have also put in an email to Beth Drost, chairwoman from Grand Portage, wondering what they're doing with their THPO position. I haven't heard back from her yet, so I can forward her email to you, and then you can let them know maybe about that Arizona State person or whatever student you're looking at.
Okay. Yeah, and then I think, you know, the way that would work in my mind would be whoever's down at the 1854 office would probably just handle the ceded territory, and THPOs, I mean, they're supposed to only really work for the on the reservation side of things, but you know, we just kind of spread out towards a lot of other things. And then when it comes to like the bigger projects, you know, they're going to take like years to do. I think we would probably work collaboratively between the tribes and then the person at the 1854 office.
And maybe that's something we can talk to the National Park Service about. Maybe if we could get a meeting set up sometime with them to discuss the funding for the THPO position, because there really isn't enough for a full-time position. And, you know, it is critical for us, especially in the area that we're in, to have this position. And not just because of the area we're in, but because it deals with tribal historic preservation. So I think that's something that maybe Portage and we could combine with a meeting with the National Park Service to see about getting additional funding. Okay. So then we could get our own THPOs at a reasonable, it's kind of hard to find somebody part-time, but if we had somebody that could do it full-time, I think that would be more attraction to somebody that is looking for this type of position. So maybe that's something we can set up. I'll talk with Beth Drost, the chairwoman from Portage, about maybe we can coordinate a meeting on that together. But you need approval for the THPO funding?
Yeah.
I think it's probably a renewal application for the $76,355.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions for Jay? Okay, do we have a motion to approve the grant renewal for the THPO position in the amount of $76,355?
Yep.
Made by Chief, is there a second?
Second.
Oh, second by Dave. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, silent, motion carried. Thanks, Jay.
Thanks.
Good morning, Vonda.
So I'm here because of the shutdown of our center and because of the corona. We haven't been able to go through our normal procedure to renew our license.
Okay.
And so we're asking for a provisional license until we can get IHS back up here and get apparent inspections.
Okay. Any questions for Vonda?
Yeah, just reading this regarding the Nett Lake School kitchen. There was an expired cottage cheese How periodically do they check the items?
So this is coming from the IHS inspection, and all deficiencies, which our Nett Lake Center had 4 in the kitchen, they have corrected those deficiencies, and the cook or the cook's aide goes in and inspects the freezers and the cabinets. I believe it's weekly, like when the order comes in, they check it to make sure that they're not going to have outdated food setting,
Okay,
and that it would be either returned back if it comes in off the shipment. They would return it back and receive credit. That also goes for, if you look at the IHS report for the Vermilion Center, the only deficiency for that center was dented cans. So all dented cans are also sent back.
okay. And the other question is regarding, I was just looking at it takes the dishwasher a few times to run the cycle before it's actually good enough to sanitize dishes. Has that been fixed, or is it going?
Yes, our program purchased the Nett Lake School a new dishwasher.
Okay. That's all.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve a provisional license for provisional center licenses at Nett Lake and Vermilion Head Start and Early Head Start?
Move.
Moved by Shane. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Travis. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. Good
Thank you,
job,
guys.
Vonda.
Bye.
Stay safe. Next, we have George Strong with KBFT. Good morning, George.
What I've got for you this morning is a contract for a different project that we've been working on or going to complete, and that's it's called Native Americana Audio Cafe Podcast. And if you recall, before we had a contract with Keith before, we were working on a large format, longer format program, just audio only, and then we're gonna try to distribute it nationally.
Oh, nice.
Well, we were trying to think of how to launch it. And so with COVID coming down, we had to suspend launching the longer program. So this came about, and it's really been popular, and we've been really catching a lot of attention. I just interviewed with Indian Country Today
Oh, nice.
yesterday. So
Good.
word's getting out there pretty quick.
Good.
And that was the purpose of it, was just to get the publicity to launch the longer format program. But this is Native Americana Audio Cafe Podcast. And basically, this is for the first 30 episodes. And our host, of course, is Keith Secola. And that's what I have for you. And then also the tribal lawyer suggested adding a rider.
Yep.
So I have that also here, along with Keith's signature, so it's all ready
Okay.
for you.
Everything's all good to go.
Yep.
And the money's in your budget to cover this?
Yes, yep.
Wonderful. Sounds like a good project.
What's that?
Sounds like a very good project.
Yeah.
Good. Any questions for George? If not, I'll call for a motion to approve the Native Americana agreement program with Keith Secola for KBFT.
Right on.
Do you know when that's going to start?
Huh?
When is that going to start?
Actually, we've already begun.
Oh,
We've
sweet.
got about 4
Okay.
episodes in the can.
Good.
Latest will be launched this afternoon. They're
Oh.
launching on 4:30s, 4:30s on Wednesdays and Saturdays.
Good. Trav, did you move?
Yep.
Moved by Travis.
Second.
Second by Chief.
Yep.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. Great job.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Do we want to discuss tribal IDs?
Simona was gonna have Elena on a cell phone.
Cell phone.
Check on.
The tribal ID issue came up in our senior management meeting with regards to driver's license bureau being closed, people possibly in the urban areas or anywhere losing their wallets or their belongings and losing their tribal IDs. And so with the pandemic, people are wondering how can they get their tribal IDs. So that's one of the issues that we're here to discuss today is how can we get our tribal IDs to our band members with the current policy we have in place. I know our policy is very restrictive regarding people have to present information, and usually people in the urban areas can obtain documents or whatever they may need. However, that's not available now. So the issue with the tribal IDs is turning out to be a huge issue for some people. They're going to need some type of IDs. You can't get state IDs. So having to really look at ways to assist band members in a way that we can during this pandemic. This pandemic is really putting a lot of disruption to normal routines and normal processes. So that's why we're going to be discussing the tribal IDs this morning. One of the policy and guidelines for issuing of a tribal ID says that all applications for picture ID cards must be in person. No applications will be accepted by mail or fax. No replacement cards will be issued by mail. So we have Simona getting Elena on the phone, our tribal enrollment gal, as she is one of the individuals that is working from home.
Okay, she's on.
Okay. Okay. At our senior management meeting, Elena, the urban offices expressed that there was some difficulty for people that lost their belongings, their wallet, whatever, lost all identification. And with the driver's license bureaus being closed, is there a possible way that they could get their tribal IDs without coming in person? And if the urban area could possibly, the staff verify them, they're kind of looking for some help with that because individuals cannot go to get a state ID or anything. So having IDs is, tribal ID is an issue that some of our tribal members are running into with this pandemic, with the driver's license bureau and that being closed. We did talk to legal, and they didn't seem to think that if we did a possible somewhat waiver of the policy just during the pandemic, because they are unable to obtain some things from like a birth certificate, that just a temporary waiver until the pandemic is over, until we can come up with a different solution.
I guess one of the questions I have, is that gonna take away the status of it being like a state ID?
No.
Was that asked of them?
Yes, that was asked of the tribal attorneys, and that, no.
Okay.
Both Jeff and Reed didn't think that there would be an issue with a temporary waiver.
See, the
Due to
only
the
problem
pandemic.
is if they haven't had an ID in a while, their picture's not saved. So if they're way down in the cities, she has been issuing CIBs, but but I don't know if how that's working or if it helps them.
The CIBs is the, can you explain what that is?
That's the Certificate of Indian Blood.
Okay,
So it's gonna have their name, their date of birth, their parents on there, their blood degree, and if they have their picture in the system, it has their picture on them too.
the CIB does have a picture if they have
Yes.
one in the system. Do we do those here then?
Yes,
Okay,
and she emails them out, signs them and emails them out.
And then I also mailed the original one in to
Oh.
them.
she
So-
mails the original one into them?
To
Is that
the
what she said?
person, yeah.
Okay. Have you had a lot of requests, Elena?
For tribal IDs or CIBs?
Well, any kind of identification?
I've had questions about when I would be down in the urban areas. But that's about it. But for, like netting, let's say netting, people needed IDs, so what I asked is that they would make sure it's okay by the conservation officers if that they could use a CIB and it was okay by them. So what I've been printing was CIBs and emailing them and then also giving them the original in the mail.
Okay,
So for them, and then I do believe there's a couple Fortune Bay employees that requested CIBs, and they, as far as I know, they were okay to use. They haven't called back and said anything else.
okay. Do a majority of the CIBs have their pictures on them then that,
If they recently, in the last 5 to 6 years, if they've gotten a tribal ID, their picture will be in there. Other than that, it won't be in there. So if their picture is in the database, then it will print on the CIB.
I'm just wondering, and maybe we can talk to the urban office about it, but I'm just wondering because I don't think they accept that as I'm not sure if the state or whoever, like if they have to, say, cash a check or something. I don't know if they're accepting that as an ID then or what, but maybe we can check on that with Department of Public Safety.
Okay. The CIBs?
Pardon?
The CIBs?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we'll mention that on the call this afternoon with the state, and I can email the liaisons for the governor's office to see about the CIBs, especially for Bois Forte, because I know other tribes are still issuing tribal IDs, so I think maybe that's something we could discuss with them we have a 4 o'clock call every day, so
Okay.
that might help address some of, any other issues you think with the tribal IDs then? Oh, is there a fee for the CIBs?
No,
No, it's just, you just,
just if they have had a tribal ID within the last 5 years and they're replacing it or changing their address, then that's a $12 fee.
okay.
But since we're not doing IDs, right now there is.
There is no fee?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Can you put something on the website possibly regarding that, or is there?
No, there's not. About.
About
no
the,
tribal
in
ID?
case they lose their tribal ID, they can request a CIB?
Yeah, yeah, we can do that.
Okay,
Did you hear that?
No, I didn't. It was a little muffled.
Okay.
I just have one question. What about, I know I stepped out for a few minutes, but what about people that live out of state that probably can never drive here or whatever, that have one of our tribal IDs for, that might be their only source of identification? Would, like, say, down out in California or Florida or wherever, and then they end up losing it or whatever.
They can request a CIB, and if they had it within the last 5 years, their picture should be in there.
Okay, yeah, I was just wondering about that, so.
okay, that
Good.
sounds good.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Elena. Okay, next we have the website for the grant information. Oops. Oh, Yep. Okay. I know that in one of my videos that I had made on YouTube that mentioned that we know that stimulus monies, and there's agencies and foundations and businesses that are sending out pots of money for COVID-related projects, funding for supplies, food, that type of thing. We did receive, through the first round of stimulus money from the Treasury Department, 2.2 million. It was based on population. And that is our largest amount of money we received, and I think our minimum is about $2,500. And so the money keeps coming in as grants are made available, and they seem to be on a daily, if not weekly basis. There's always new funding opportunities available for COVID or for the pandemic to assist with areas from mental health to children, to food, to testing supplies, to clinics, all of that. So we had discussed, or I had mentioned that we should put out a financial report once the, Kim Greiner is having a weekly budget meeting on Tuesdays with individuals where the funding is coming from. Say, for example, Head Start Daycare is receiving some money. And so Kim is having budget meetings with everybody involved with the funding sources, and they're coming up with a priority list that will be for use of those funds by this Friday. And so, but she is meeting weekly on Tuesdays with individuals because there are timelines when this money has to be spent. And so basically, none of the money really has been spent except for food, I believe, and our elderly nutrition cooks. Basically because the elder program pulled the cooks because they were over 55 years of age and elder. And so we had to supplement cooks with staff, and so some of the funding has basically been used for food and cooking. Right now we really haven't spent any of the money, but I do think that it is in the best interest of the band and the band members that we do a financial report. Once we know what the COVID money is going to be used for, and put it out to the tribal members for their information. Because it is turning into, like I said, I think right now when I did the video, there were 25 programs, now we're up to 30. So there's different pools of money coming in at various amounts and various funding agencies.
I think the other thing too is that, if there's stipulations to this money, we got to fulfill the requirements to the money that we're receiving. Otherwise, if we don't fulfill those requirements, we're going to end up paying or basically all this money back, and I would not want to see us doing that.
Yeah.
We need to fulfill the requirements as best as we can, and try to keep moving forward.
Yep. And really what Shane is talking about, and he brought up a good point, is that the payroll protection program that everybody hears about with the small businesses, Bois Forte did apply for that for the casino. And so basically it's funded 2 months worth of salary for those employees that were going to be either laid off, or because we closed the casino, it offered 2 months worth of salary. And that's what Shane is talking about is we have 2 months to come up with a plan to put those employees back to work. And if we don't, or if we're below a certain amount of employees, because we were funded based on our employee level as of February, which is a low time of the year, which was good. If we don't do that, we will end up paying some of that money back. So we don't want to pay money back. So a lot of our decisions are based on things that we have to do with regards to the requirements for the funding under the COVID. And so it is difficult, but we have to do it. And we are trying to do our decisions based on the best interest of the band and also the safety of our tribal members and our employees. So we will be getting out a financial report with that, but right now we really have not obligated the dollars, and we will have a priority list by Friday, which I believe they will be going over again on Tuesday. I think one of the funds, if I'm correct, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think one of the funds runs out by June 30. That's our first timeline on that date. And so I know another program, one of our HUD programs, runs out on September 30. So some of these have short timelines, and some have a longer timeline into next year. But like our PPE program, that has a timeline of June 9. And that's where we funded the casino salaries. And so that was through the small business that was eligible for tribes with employees of 500 or less. And so we qualified for that because we had employees 500 or less for the Bay. So we have to have employees back to work at a certain level, similar to February, by June 9. Or we may have to pay a portion back if we don't meet those levels. So there are strict requirements, especially from the U.S. Treasury. Some funds are less restrictive. So that's kind of an, once I believe we get everything put in place, we will put it on the website. We'll do a financial report. It's the council's decision to do that. And because we want everybody to know that we're not putting the money in our pockets. It's going out to the tribal members. We're trying to do the areas that we need to. We are actually even keeping track of donations. We're getting donations for food. A farmer down south is donating tons of potatoes for the MCT. So we'll be doing potato distribution in a week or so, and we'll be packing up potatoes. But we're very appreciative of that. And the two bands, Mille Lacs and Grand Portage, also did donations of fish and hams. So we're very fortunate to have those types of donations, and it helps out. Even though it might be minimal, every little bit helps. So go ahead.
I think the other thing too is to point out is that, yes, we are going to fulfill these requirements so that we don't end up paying this money back. But on the flip side, the other thing that we have to worry about is with our casino, we might not have the customer base like we did before the pandemic hit. And that's one of the worries I have. Mm-hmm. So we have a lot on the table that we got to look at, and a lot that we got to work out on, and a lot to worry about, aside from this pandemic itself.
Yeah, true. Okay, so that takes care of that agenda item, unless there's other discussion. If not, we'll move on to David Morrison Sr. with the election boards.
Well, I know that we need 3 replacements on the election board. I know the general election board, Gloria Love was the alternate, but she's having some medical issues right now, so she won't probably be able to serve. And then on the District 2, we have to replace Eugenia Bois. She was the teller. And then the Duluth Urban Office Election Board, we had Terry Strong as a teller, and she resigned. And so I just put some names on the paper here, just trying to come up with some names that we could use. But if there's any other names that are, or people that you guys can think of, maybe we could come up with them, but we have to have them on board by June 9th on the election day. And the general election person will have to be here daily, but I know some of the names that are on here are employees of the band, and they're not related to any of the candidates that are seeking office. But if there's any names that we can come up with, or
Okay.
that you see that we can put on board, so. And, I'll name off some of the names that I came up with. One was Simona Bender, Linda Tibbetts Bardo, Terry Defoe, Kyle Lilwolf, Barbara Dean, Helena Drift, Brooklyn Isham, Cheryl Deblock, Amanda Jackson. Is she a band member? I think she is, right? I think she comes from Fond du Lac?
I think she's Fond du Lac.
Oh, okay. Well, I think she might be Fond du Lac. I'm not sure, but I thought her mother was Tony Little Wolf. I'm not sure though. We'd probably have to ask her, but that's who I thought her mother was. So I'm not sure on that one. Then Bessie Medicine and Frances Irving, Mary Bardo, Patricia McCarthy, Brianna Porter, and Orion Dagan Goodsky. But them are the names that I could come up. I mean, like I said, I've been kind of knocking my head against the wall here, trying to come up with some names who we could.
Dave, should we give a call to these guys then and see if anyone would be interested in filling those positions?
That's something that I probably could have Joel and Randy maybe send an email to them.
Okay.
But if there's any names that you guys can come up with
Okay.
before they send that email out, or maybe we could, you guys have some suggestions, go ahead
Okay.
and come up with those.
Okay.
Yeah, we can send the email out shortly after the meeting.
Okay.
Okay. And give them any names that you guys may come up with.
Do the rest of the council have any names that you can think of right off the top of your head, or otherwise, maybe you guys could send that out by 3 this afternoon or something then.
Okay.
You guys can come up with some names. Another good one is right back there, Darren Langren there. And I know he's smiling, but Darren's a pretty bright individual, and
Put your hand up, Darren, come on.
See your list, Dave.
We have KBFT here with Darren Langren, so we're talking to Darren behind the scenes here.
I gave you one. Oh, did you? I thought you said give it to them.
Oh, okay. We have a lot of people doing Census Bureau information too. That's what Darren just mentioned, so, okay. But yeah, we'll get those emails out by 3 today, or notification to these individuals, and any other names, please submit to Randy or Joel before 3. Okay, good. Okay, Dave, now you said the Fond du Lac general election.
yes, so then Fond du Lac or the MCT must have faxed this to Stan Day, our chairman of the general election board, and it's in regards to the COVID-19 preparedness plan for the upcoming elections, on how they're gonna counter the safe distancing and proper procedures, how to handle it through kind of the health way. I know there's 3 pages to it, but I don't know if you guys if we think we should adopt that, something similar to this, or I know we got a couple more weeks yet to before the election day, but if there's any ideas, I know that Kathy had the Red Lake newspaper, and it looks like they're going to be doing curbside voting. Is going to be available, so that's another maybe way to handle it. But I know that in the preparedness plan that Fond du Lac has in place, it talks about how to wipe down how they're going to handle wiping down the area after people come in and cast a vote. They're going to have a notary on site, and but trying to keep social distancing between the candidates that are going to be, or the band members that are going to come in and vote, and how to if somebody has a cough or a sneeze or whatever, and just some general housekeeping rules on how they're going to keep the area area clean. So you just want to have a chance to read this over.
Yep.
I know it just came in yesterday, so
Yeah, we'll read it over, and then we'll probably do a poll on it to try get it out as soon as we can to the election workers plus the general band members here too, so they're aware of the policies regarding how we're going to handle the, to make sure it's safe for them to come vote.
And then also, maybe this is a question that we can run by legal quickly, but we have to notify the MCT on the choice of our appellate form that we want to select by June 4th. And that's on the election calendar, that has to be done. And maybe that's something that we can have Jeff or Reed or Ben come up with what kind of form we want to put, what form we want to use at Bois in regards to any protests
Okay.
or how they're going to proceed with what protest form we're going to use for anybody that wants to protest the election. So
Okay, we can do that.
We could maybe Joe or Randy can email that to Ben or one of the attorneys, so we can just do a poll.
Yep.
Okay. Then that's all I have. So
I just have a question regarding the curbside voting. Is that something we need to consider too? Is that on the day of that, we're going to do the curbside, if we do the curbside voting, what happens if it rains? That's just something to think about.
Yeah, I know that the Damiano Center is closed. I think it's just for meals right now. And Wendy Drift had mentioned, we could use the parking lot, but if it rains, we'd probably need tents or something set up for the drive-by voting. So I think that's something that we need to look at with regards to that. I believe according to Gary Fraser, I believe the MCT building will be open. They're working with Jackie down there on the building or something, but Damiano belongs to the city of Duluth, so we need to think of that voting area there. Here will be not so bad, I don't think, because if it's raining, they could come in and we could space out in this entire big building here, but just put the safety precautions in place to make sure that everybody is safe. But I think Duluth will be our challenge.
I think too, we could also look at maybe renting out like a conference room, like they come in this door, like
Yep.
maybe at the American Indian Housing Organization, come in this door, vote, and go to the next door.
That's an
and
idea.
Something.
Yeah, good idea. Like I said, this pandemic has taken in our normal routines and just put them in a big upheaval, so we got to think of ways to overcome it and move forward. Okay, all right. No other business. I will call for a motion to adjourn. Made by Chief.
yep.
Second by Shane. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. Everybody stay safe, wear your masks, social distancing, wash your hands. Please be safe, and talk to your family and relatives.